Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. As always, thank you for watching another edition of this week's EQ Video Tip. Before we get started, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. What's on tap for today? We have a great article from Minda Zetlin who talks about one thing to do to make people instantly like you, according to an expert. Now, we all have met people before and we say, oh man, I wish that person just loved me right away. And they had some reason for liking one person more than another. And what is that information? What makes someone like one person more than another? Well, there's something that we call paying uncommon attention to someone. What's uncommon attention and how do you do that? We'll talk about different ways that Minda recommends to pay someone uncommon attention, which in turn will make them more interested in you and of course end up having them like you even more. Tip number one, remember the details and of course ask about them. For example, if you meet someone and they talk to you about their daughter, next time you talk to them, don't say, how's your daughter? Instead say, how's Caitlin? I remember she had a big performance in ballet this weekend. How did that performance go for Caitlin? Remembering specific details and asking about them leads to a better connection and more likability, according to the research. So when you meet someone for the first time and you get some great details, if you can't remember it, maybe write it down afterwards so you have the opportunity to go back, remember the details, and of course, ask them about it. Tip number two, share information that this person can use. For example, if you had just met someone and they told you that they love Japanese food, and then a week later you find a great Japanese restaurant, tell them about it. Let them know, hey, this might be perfect for you, or I thought of you the other day because you mentioned Japanese food and I found this great restaurant that no one knew about. In doing so, you're showing the person that you know their needs, you know their interests, and you're paying attention. It's a great way to forge a connection between you and that person. Tip number three and our last tip, quote things that they've said. When you're talking to someone and there's a topic that interests both of you, make a note of it, and if the topic arises again, make sure that you can naturally quote them with the conversation. Or maybe they published an article, or they've written a blog, or some kind of post. If you can weave that naturally into conversation, it will show that you value their opinion, you respect it, and that you've gone out of your way to read something that they've done or to pay attention to something that they've said, which will ultimately lead to them liking you more. That's a wrap for this week's EQ Video Tip. Hopefully these tips have helped you out and will help you become more likable when you meet someone. Of course, take these tips, tailor them, make them yours, and use them on a day-to-day basis so that you can become more likable. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.